MENA representation in arts and entertainment. MENA is Middle Eastern, North African. This is a panel where we talk about, discuss, and highlight the importance of MENA representation in all forms of media, whether it's film, television, art, animation, music, comedy, podcasting. Did I miss any? I think you got it. Awesome, yeah. Any kind of like content creation, we're here to talk about it. And this is actually our second time doing this panel at San Diego Comic-Con, and I think our sixth time overall doing it. So
thanks for having us. Thanks for having us.
I'll be your moderator. My name is Paul Zachariah. My pronouns are he, him. I am an actor, writer, and director based in Los Angeles. I've been in projects for 48 Hour Film Project, BuzzFeed, Crack.com, and I was on the award-winning web show Mr. Student Body President as a recurring role. And my background is Iraqi, Egyptian, and Palestinian. Also, this next time is wearing cosplay has nothing to do with the panel. I'm also wearing cosplay. And do not talk to me about the movie yet. I have not seen it yet. But thank you guys again for joining. And we have a great, amazing group of talented panelists here. So let's give them another round of applause. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves, starting with...
Hi, I'm Esraa Darwish. I am a DGA second AD. My pronouns are she, her, and I've worked on things like Barry, Night Swim. I'm sure you guys all saw that one last week. I've done a lot of Blumhouse horror films, and yeah, I love my background in Egyptian.
Hi guys, my name is Jasmin Joestar, but since everybody here probably can pronounce my real name, it's Jasmin, and I'm 100% Iraqi. I am a content creator. I do it for fun, so in real life, I am kind of like a Clark Kent moment. I'm a scientist. So I enjoy making content that revolves around anime, Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, video games. I do some streaming, and I work in official collaborations with many licensed companies, and I've been featured by Marvel and Disney before.
Hi, I'm Modares Ghasiri. My pronouns are he, him. I'm an actor, writer, producer. I have some of my credits are anything Baby Splitters, Amazon's MVP. Recently, I've been in the Los Angeles musical theater scene with Cannibal the Musical and First Date. I write and produce. I tend to focus on trans representation and MENA representation. And I am mixed Persian and Irish from my mom's side. Can't blame her.
Hi, I'm Searl. This is my first time on the panel. I've been in the audience many times. So it's fun. I am a graphic designer, so I'm representing both MENA people and the art department, which usually everybody wants to be writers and directors, but the art department is important too. I guess somebody's got to build the sets. So that's fun. My background is I'm half Palestinian and half Northern European.
Hi, I'm Lina Khatib. I'm a writer and director. I'm also Palestinian. I have worked various jobs in the industry for the past 10 years, in like the office, as a PA, production coordinator, stylist assistant, all that stuff. And most recently, I just wrapped on my debut short film, which is called Posies, and it's about a clothing store. And it follows Iris on her first day at Redux, and stuff ensues. And that will be playing very soon at a festival in LA, and it's going to hopefully make more festivals. That's the plan, but that's me. Oh yeah, I like getting my nails done a lot. As you guess.
Thank you guys so much for the introductions. And also, I'm curious, do we have any MENA folks here in the audience? Shout out, where are you from? Jordan? Yeah. Who else?
Palestine, Jordan, Egypt.
Yes! Awesome.
Palestine.
Yes!
Syria.
Well, thank you guys again so much for joining us here today. You know, like I said, when I started doing this panel, when we started doing this panel, I should say, the purpose is to basically, you know, highlight representation for MENA people, and basically, you know, just talk about why our representation also matters. And over the years, we've been making a lot more. There've been a lot more examples of positive MENA representation in all different forms of media, and we've been trying to make our voices stronger and louder than ever, and especially now, given, you know, what's been happening in the world lately. And I just curious, I want to ask you guys, this is a very important question, but also a very simple question. How are you?
Yeah, I mean, we're getting through it day by day. It's kind of grim out there with the slowdown after the strikes and everything going on in Gaza. It's like, it's a grief marathon. That's the way I'll put it. But I think it is really nice to see how people feel about MENA people right now. Because I think the narrative, I mean, I think a lot of us here can relate. I think the narrative around this is starting to shift. And that gives me hope.
We'll be okay, right? I'm Muslim, so for everything we say alhamdulillah. So that means thank God. I think in this dark cloud, there's a silver lining where people, like, it's been 78 years, right? Or 76, it's been a lifetime, where people are finally recognizing that in many ways, like not only the Palestinian struggle, that we exist, but we exist all together, right? So when we're sitting here at this table discussing representation, even though it's come about not in the way we wish it would be, there still is that positivity of, yeah, people now know that you can't just replace one of us with, you know, another brown person, you know, or another white person with brown face paint. So we matter and we're here, and so everything will be all right.
Yeah, I'm tired. I feel like you know, being Persian, we were coming off the Women Like Freedom movement, which was really difficult, of course, but also really nice, I think, to see people. Is my microphone? It's on.
It's right.
It's much better.
But I think so. Coming off the Women Like Freedom movement, which was very exhausting, but at the same time, I think it was really nice for like Western people to see like we're not like just because we're Persian doesn't mean we're fans of the current government. In fact, a lot of us who are here came here because people left. Like my father, like did not go back to Iran. And then you know one thing after the other was the strikes and Palestine. So it's definitely I think like a brief marathon. It's been really hard. I think there's lots of little slivers of hope. And I think one of the things that's really wonderful I'm seeing, and a lot of it is people on this panel who are stepping up and doing it. Like, you know, people all put this panel together as we're starting like a monthly screening, like Lina's making stuff. Like, people are doing it, and I think that's really awesome. And everyone else, you two are too, I just don't want to take your Sorry.
It's heavy. I think that, you know, for me, I don't know that, like 2 years ago, I would have thought about being in a panel like this, that it was necessarily my place or my forte being in a panel like this. But one of the things that, particularly the war has done, is it's made me want to lean heavily into my Palestinian identity in a way that I've never been so passionate and motivated to do. Because watching what's going on and getting that daily in your Instagram feed, and I can't remember everybody, but my Instagram feed is like 99% stuff about what's going on in Palestine, which is not mentally healthy. But when I see all that, you know, I carry the weight of that, and I think, what can I do? I can't stop the conflict. I can't fight back. I can't undo all of the terrible things that have been done. But what I can do is I can stand up and I can put on my jersey and I can say, this is what a Palestinian looks like, and I can remind people that this is the true face of people from the Middle East. It's not what exists in so many of the popular imaginations, and hopefully that effect. That dignity and that kindness, it humanizes it in a way that people haven't been able to connect with before. So I think that's how I process it, is just to wear my identity with pride and with dignity, you know, and hopefully that goes out into the world in a very different way than people are used to receiving.
Yeah, I think for me it's like So I've been wanting to work in the film industry since I was 12. I was like that odd child. I was like, yep, I'm gonna be a director. Like I knew exactly what I wanted. And even though at that time, you know, I'm 32, so that was like 20 years ago, there wasn't shows with female representation, like at the Oscars, and it was all like white people up there. But there was something in me that just knew like this is what I wanted to do. And I knew from a young age because like I am fully Palestinian. I lived in Palestine as a child. Like I understand the weight of what that means. And it's been something that I carry with me throughout my career. I've been in rooms where once I mention a Palestinian, they figure out how to get me out of there within 5 minutes. So it is very much prevalent in this industry, that kind of racism. And so once everything started happening in Gaza last year, it became very apparent to me why it's so important what I'm doing. And even though it's like really difficult and it's like a lot on my shoulders, I feel the weight and I feel like why it's so important to keep pushing through and to keep doing what we're doing, because like, yeah, it's hard, but I think about like my 12-year-old self, like she'd be very proud of where I'm at today, like she'd be really inspired and like amazed, and you know, that's gonna be another like 12-year-old right now, like Palestinian girl who's like, oh whoa, Lina made this movie, it's so cool, and that like will inspire her. And it is something that I think about a lot, so it's been difficult, but I think it's also amazing to see how much the narrative is changing. When I say I'm Palestinian, now people understand what that means, and I feel like before it's kind of just dismissed. So yeah.
Now we are making ourselves more aware of like who we are, what we do, and also how we want to contribute in arts, entertainment, and all forms of media. And I feel like because of what's been happening, it's making us, kind of, rethink like what we do and how we approach, how we go about in our current lives and our current careers as well. I'm becoming, more aware of whenever, personally, like when I'm writing something and I want to think about how I want to represent my people in that sense. And so, for me, so what I'm wondering with you guys is like, how has your career changed in any way? And how motivated are you to make your art? And where is it at in terms of how what has happened is shaping your own career?
Well, I'm not in front of the camera. I'm an assistant director, so we're like the logistics, nervous system of the film set. You can follow Paul and I to the next panel if you want to learn more. But it's interesting now standing on set, when we can get on set, with the slowdown and seeing how people's mindsets, like I think there was always an assumption of rejection at first because that's what I've seen, that's what I've experienced. I know that's what a lot of other MENA filmmakers have experienced. But one of the last sets I was on, they donated money to the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. And so the conversation around who MENA people are and how we relate to each other is different. They actually, I think people are a little bit more knowledgeable now because of everything that's going on. We're a little less invisible. And so for someone standing behind the camera, it means a great deal because then they have an idea of like why you are the way that you are and why you think that way.
I really can't say. It's all like we're still trying to find out, when a program might drop you, or when you see less opportunities come your way. Sometimes you're like, is this just the ebb and flow of business, or is something happening behind the scenes? If anything, I think we're in just really unprecedented times. Like we said, we're, unfortunately and fortunately, we're finally on the map. People finally see us. So I think there's a lot of positive change to come. Let's stay hopeful for that, and looking forward that happens. Can you repeat the question?
Given everything,
So wrap it up with there's something
I was basically saying, like, given everything that's happened, and how has that basically made you rethink or change the way that you work in your field to create your own art? Is like how has that like changed your way of thinking, or how motivated you are to do what you want to do?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because before I transitioned, I had like long blonde hair. The testosterone was really excited about being virgin. It's like really. So wasn't what people assume Middle Eastern looked like, and I was even told by like an acting teacher, like, you'll never play this like type. And then so as a writer making my own content, I was like, well, I can't ever play that. And I was like, well, if I can't write myself as Middle Eastern, and I had like a family member when I'm writing, like, it can't be. And I was just like, that's so dumb. And so I was like, screw that. And then I think a lot of like with the women like freedom movement that happened, like for me that was like a really big push where like I actually got into Farsi classes, and like when a teacher asked like all this why, everyone was like, because this is happening. And I think for me, I'm also trying to get out of that mindset of like the tokenization where I'm like, well, there's one Malaysian character. Why is there one? It's like we're all like, you can look at us, we're all clearly very different people. Like you can paint a story just based off of what we're presenting here. We're not the same. And especially as usually we have a few more versions on the panel. I'm not the only one. But I think in that terms of just really bringing in my culture and then seeing what's happening with Palestine and being on a panel with people from other cultures, it's like, let's have fun. Like, let's play around with multiple MENA people of different like origins. Because like, I think the concept of family is usually like, oh, biologically this is the family, but beyond that we can have deep, great stories and have people from different cultures, and we can like make light of that and poke fun at like, oh, we're the same because we're from that area. And it's like, I like do not know a single word in Arabic, you know what I mean? Like, so I think for me that's been the motivation of like highlighting that and embracing like I can do this no matter how I look. And because we are a very diverse region, and then some of us are mixed. And then including other cultures, especially as I meet other people and can like collaborate. So I think that's really
That being said, if you see Paul's Wednesday Addams cosplay, he looks like my sister. It's great.
that's also just very much alike.
It is great. I forgot the question, but I'm just going to wing it. I will say, the first one of these panels I ever attended, the thing that affected me the most was actually, talking about how he looked, and I was like, oh, another halvesy. And so, and then the first time I started to think about it like that, I was like, oh, okay, we all do look different. And so I felt like suddenly I had a place, at that table, in a place that I belonged in. And I grew up in a place of this country where there were no other Middle Eastern people at all. And I looked different enough that people would kind of point it out, but not really know what they were pointing at. My cousin, 2 years ago, my all-white cousin, described me as vaguely exotic. So if that gives you an idea of how white that community was, I was vaguely exotic. So that was really helpful for me. Thank you. What was it? Oh, how we processed how it's affected our career. I'm sorry, let me actually answer the question. I find myself self-censoring a little bit more and thinking about the things that I can and cannot say in the professional environment. And how that will be received, because I'm just a lowly graphic artist. I just draw pictures and press buttons. I'm not somebody that necessarily has a lot of power and clout. So I think for all of us, once you get in the industry, you start realizing the gross power imbalances that do exist, and you kind of have to be careful. And it's never something I've had to think about before the last 12 months, because usually Hollywood has typically been, it's just a very liberal place, and you can walk in and you can make a comment that has a certain sort of politics behind it, and almost everybody in the room will nod their heads. And for the first time, there are some divisions, and some of those divisions are unspoken, and you don't know where exactly everything's going to land. So I find myself self-censoring, both to protect myself and also to be respectful of the other people in the room that may have differing opinions, that may not make them bad people or terrible people. They just may have a different life experience. So I have to be cognizant of that. So what I've taken to is what I sort of think about as acid quiet resistance. So a month ago I had to make a menu that's going to appear in the background of a scene, and none of you will ever see it because it'll be blurry. But if you could see it, you would see that menu is mostly Palestinian dishes. And so that's just an act of what I think of as like quiet resistance. I make sure that our history and our culture is kind of like inserted in ways that you might not notice at first, but it's there under the surface, and it can't be erased.
I just wanted to comment on the looking different thing. My siblings and I all look different, so it's not like much with Middle Eastern people. I have a ginger cousin, I have a blonde cousin, I have my brother is like tall, dark, features. Like we all look different even within our own families, which has been for me personally, it was really cool to grow up like that because it just immediately showed me diversity within my own family. I also have a lot of half-sea cousins, half black, half Puerto Rican, half white, so we do come in all different, as different people. But to answer the question, it's actually really cool for me to have like this growth because I used to think that my stuff wasn't very Arab because I don't necessarily have like the most like, this is a straight up Arab character and this is an Arab life and like kind of like those ideas. My stuff is, I always thought was more for like just general audiences, but then when I was seeing all the coverage and like learning more about my culture through this past year, one of the things that kept coming up was like our relationship to land and how we respect the earth. And that's something that's very strong in the film that I made, is that theme about like sustainability. And so it's been cool to see like how deep my perspective is in Palestinian culture and like kind of wanting me to explore that more and see how else I view the world that's different than everyone else because I'm Palestinian.
And I just want to add one thing. I don't know if you guys saw the show Homeland, but they hired like artists to spray paint graffiti in one of the scenes, but they didn't have the air and the artist wrote "Homeland is racist" all over the back of the set. So when TJ was talking about that quiet resistance, that's what I was thinking about. But yeah, that's why we need more of us.
I noticed when we started doing this panel, a lot of the things we talked about is like change, like like with each con and talking about all the different issues and everything. And because originally when we started, I wanted to like to highlight the specific like some of like the MENA characters and shows and actors and artists who have that we've seen more of over the years. And I think about specific examples like Rami Youssef, Mohammed Amer, who like all created and starred in like their own shows. I think of like Rami Malek, won an Oscar for Rhapsody, and I think of the live action Aladdin. Whether you like it or not, it's there. But and it's just that's what I was thinking about in terms of like representation. Is like seeing more people like us, behind the scenes, in front of the camera, and everything, and also. Something else I've been wanting to make clear, we've been wanting to make clear in this panel, when we say representation, we don't mean tokenism. We're not talking about just having like, filling like a quota whenever it comes to what kind of work you're doing as a person behind the scenes. That's what I wanted to also have like different kinds of people on the panel as well, so we can talk about, because here's the thing, it's like, we all come from like different places, different backgrounds, we all have like very different experiences, and I felt like I wanted to have this to highlight all of those. Because I feel like now with it happening now more than ever, we're still here and we're still going to continue doing it. So I'm curious, like what based on what we've seen so far, what are you liking about it and what can we do more of?
For me, what I like is I actually like seeing that this idea of tokenism, right? I think writers and directors and studios have started to realize that it's not palatable to us. We're not going to watch it, and I think they start to realize that we have money. So they're like, oh, they're going to turn out to the movies. I mean, like with the new Bad Boys movie, they made so much money, and they're like, oh, okay, so we should make more films that match the audiences. So
You're talking about the directors.
yeah.
So the directors for Bad Boys are both Middle Eastern. I think one is like Yemeni.
Yeah.
The other one's
But I mean, also like, the cast matches the audience as well. The stories match the audience. And so you get that when you have people who have those experiences in the writer's room, when they're on set, when they're in these positions. So from where I'm standing, it's like, yeah, I'm liking the change behind the scenes. Realizing that you can't just give me like a surface level guy named Ahmed and all of a sudden I feel seen. Like, no, you gotta get me more than that.
Ahmed's out here catching strays.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I was on the movie, which, my friend's here with me today, and we met there. But we went to the Marvels movie. Do you know how awesome that is to see a living room that looks like mine with pieces of Quran on the wall. I would have never thought in a million years that would be something Disney or Marvel showed. So having that, having shows like We Are Lady Parts, which is an amazing way of what we're saying here, that we all look very different, and they're all very different representations of Muslim women, and most of them I think are also Middle Eastern too. So I'm here to see more people that look like me. This is the point of panels like this, is to showcase that and want more and strive for more. And so I'm here for it, and I can't wait. It's been a long time coming, right? So
Can I also add, like, from where I'm standing, I see this change where they realize, like, oh, we should really care about these stories because these communities out there, and not only do they have money, but they matter. It's because there's more people from our backgrounds in the room.
and the stories are cool. It's like not always about just like our religion or our background or homeless, but it's like actual like legitimate, like people love Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, because she was fun. Like she's the fangirling teenager that got won the lottery and got powers and got to fight with the people that she looked up to her whole life. Nobody saw her for as this monolith for Islam. She's not even covered, or Pakistani people. So people just saw they're really cool teenager that I totally relate to, and everybody did, from kids to adults. So
Yeah, and it takes showing up. I mean, you guys are here at this panel, it's fantastic. And I think my big thing is getting the rest of your friends from, the MENA region to show up to things as well. Because when we're all in the room, and then they can't talk about us without us putting our 2 cents in. And that for me has been the best part of my experience on my job. They know I'm Egyptian, they know I'm Muslim, and sometimes we'll be filming things and I'll be like, that's pretty racist. So even if you're not working in the film industry, whatever art you do or whatever industry you end up in, show up and then have your friends show up to the events.
Yeah. I love how optimistic you two are, because I feel like I'm not as much. Because I feel like, we're trying not to go too much into Aladdin anymore on the panel. But I think that was we usually get way more into it, that's usually because that was really awesome, but then I'm also not seeing it again. So the new Descendants movie from Disney came out, they have Aladdin and Jasmin, and they're not played by Middle Easterns from the MENA region. Specifically.
I've never seen that.
It actually was wildly high budget for a Disney Channel original movie. It was actually really fun. No, it was actually the new one. The wigs. Most of
The wigs.
But, and then, we were talking about that on Bridgerton, there's a Persian lord that comes on. I was like, hell yeah, this is our time. And it's 2 episodes and it's gone. Barely a character. And so I think it's that thing of we talk about a quota, but I'm like, is there a MENA quota? Is there even a quota that we're trying to fill? Because a lot of times I don't even think we're being on the checklist. But I think what is really great is, given what's happening, there is so much more support and especially really big people like the Hadid's, and putting it out there, and I believe they're starting their own production company as well, which is amazing. And I think that's the type of stuff where at the end of the day, we need to make it, because we can't trust white people to do it correctly. But also, I don't know how much they care. And I think it's a thing where, unfortunately, I think the people that are, as our society is, so you have these older, rich, white, cishet men, I think they don't realize that their stories are boring and we're over it, and that people genuinely are interested in other stories. It's not only Middle Easterns watch Ghani, it's people are interested in other stories, and I think that's something, especially, I don't know if it's a generational difference, or it's just we're finally having the opportunity to see different stories and seeing that lots of people like it. But I don't know, I feel like I didn't see this open way. I think I'm a little worried with the way the industry is right now, and pushing Middle Easterns out of the room, that there will be a backslide, or we'll go back to being a lot of terrorists, which I guess every job's done. And I think it's something where, Jasmin, you brought this up, of the proof points of things make gonna have the really loud people who are like, you know, like woke stuff, but if like Dragon Age didn't listen to them, and they have queer representation everywhere. You have all these people who are like, don't buy our stuff then, you know? Because there's so many more people who are gonna buy it. So I think there's a lot of like proof points of like, because at the end of the day it's money, right? And that's why the representation matters for equitability, because we are artists, and if we don't have opportunities, then we can't live and survive, and then that becomes even harder for us to work on our art if we have to hustle to like pay rent. So it's just like the trickle down effect of it. So I love that there are other people who are optimistic. I'm a little skeptical at the moment.
We have to be, because we have to balance each other out.
This is true. Which
That's
is
what it is.
what I love too is that we have the optimistic goth and then me being the pessimist. We're already breaking stereotypes.
It is grim times, but we're looking forward to it.
I'm glad you brought up the Hadids, because I had read that recently, and the quote I read, it's the oldest Hadid sister, whose name escapes me right now. But, thank you. I think, yes, they're their own production company, and her intent was for it to be what she described as the Palestinian A24, which is a pretty lofty ambition, and so that was very cool to think that there could be an outlet for those stories, and someone with enough privilege in the industry to do that. And that actually brings me into what I wanted to see more, and I've been thinking about this because of my grandma. My grandma was from Amman, and I never get to meet her, but I heard lots of stories about her. She was quite an impressive woman from everything I've been told. She had a really unique job in the Western sense, and then she used to arrange marriages in her community. Like, she was the person who wanted to get married, to go to her, and she'd like hook you up with a thing. So it's very unusual for Westerners to think about things like that, but because of that role, she was apparently a very, very respected woman in the community, and within our family, tended to make a lot of the decisions and things, which was sort of uncommon in a traditionally patriarchal society to have a matriarch of that kind of prominence. So I think about her a lot, and one of the things that I would like to see more of is representation of Middle Eastern women that do not cater to Western fetishization of what Middle Eastern women should look like, with veils and headscarves and just standing in the corner being silent. Because there are a lot of just amazing, educated, strong Middle Eastern women with amazing stories. And I think the men are kind of getting a little bit there, right? We talked about Aladdin's there, but I'd also like to start to see Jasmin's story in a way that gives her agency and meaning and shows that side of things. So that's what I think.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring that up. And for the men to be talking about this on panel, but I have a Persian friend, and she's a little bit older, so she's been getting auditions I've been helping her with, and she's always, and they're always like the Middle Eastern mother who's like in this kind of like, she's like, it's almost like saying she's like cooking them, like, it's wild.
That's accurate.
It's accurate. But it's like you can tell, and on the one hand I'm like, okay, people are writing it, but then like, there's no other like versions of it, but I'm gonna just blanketly say we don't have camels in Iran. And then, so, you know, obviously it was like, she left because of the revolution of the character, but she was telling her son the story about how after the war we left on like camel over the river, and I was like, nobody left Iran on a camel over the river. I'm telling you that. And also like, we all call it the revolution. No Persian's like, oh, the war. It's like, what war are you talking about? So I agree with that scene. I'm like, so it's like, it's cool people are trying, but at the same time, I'm like, maybe have a Persian woman helping you.
Do you know, but I love that you brought that up, DJ, because it's one of the things that I think about a lot where I show up, I'm Egyptian, I am a very strong-willed woman, I'm well-educated, I'm outspoken, and when I go back to Egypt, I fit right in. And I come out here and everybody's like, why aren't you speaking softer to me? Why aren't you kind? You need to be kinder to people, you should be more patient. I'm like, no. No, I'm here to do a job, you hired me to do the job, I'm doing my job. Like, so it's interesting because they see these images and then they meet us and they expect that from us, and it's like, the reason I am an outspoken, well-educated, and strong woman is because I am an Egyptian Muslim woman. And we won't get into the intricacies of that, but that's how I was brought up. And those are my rights. And so it's great that you said that, because that character is not, it's not a blanket statement all of us.
Yeah, and I just wanted to point out that ultimately the film industry is a business, and right now they're failing.
Yeah.
Their box office numbers are dismal. They need to learn how to pivot if they want to survive. I feel like something that has been huge for me this past year is pivoting the way that I read them. I no longer seek validation from these companies because they're just, to me, I'm like, you're literally making bad business decisions left and right. And like, I'm glad that Watermelon Pictures exists because that's exactly what we should be doing, is we have money as a community. We should be pulling our money to make these films, and we should be like doing it ourselves because like, yeah, A24, everyone's like, it came out of nowhere, and it's like, yeah, because they make great movies. So I think it's like, if we just focus on our skills, our talents, making great things, like, yeah, it's gonna be more difficult, but how is it more difficult than going to pitches and getting rejected every single like day by the industry? Like I've been working on this for 10 years, and the most growth I've had is when I just said, I don't care anymore what they think, and I'm just doing things for myself and doing it independently, and that's where the growth has happened. So I feel like we need to stop seeking validations from these people because they don't want to give it and they don't care about it until they see the financials of it. Until they realize like, hey, yeah, this Marvel is hugely popular, so let's make the movie. Like, it's when you really break it down to that, that's how we change the industry.
Absolutely.
Definitely. I think we should have got Watermelon Pictures as sponsor this
Yeah.
panel.
Maybe next year. They emailed me, so.
Did they really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
I definitely want to see more companies like that, grow and, just provide more opportunities for people like us. Because like a lot of us have had to create, our own opportunities to make our own stuff happen, no matter what field we're working in. And just finding those people who will listen to us and support us, because people seem to underestimate that we are loud, we are smart, but we are very loving, we are caring, and we put in 100% effort into what we do.
Yeah.
So that goes for me, that goes for everybody here. That's why, again, this is a talented group of people here, and like, they deserve the same kind of opportunities here that like anybody who's not MENA deserves.
And to speak about opportunity and making stuff ourselves, there are a lot of craftspeople here. And as long as we can get in the room together and get to know each other and build those relationships and kind of rebuild the community, like my big thing is that third spaces are dead, they're dying. So, and Yas mentioned it earlier, I'm starting like a monthly screening, renting out a movie theater, and I'm showing MENA films, because I just want people, like, I don't have the capability alone to make something right now, but I want to show you what taught me who I am. And that's the art that I grew up with. So, and it's an opportunity to just get everybody in the same room. Come out, watch a film, meet new people, make friends. Eventually you'll collaborate together. Eventually you'll find funding together. And hopefully it grows from there. But it's just like, we have to find each other in this wide sea of filmmaking, or even just any other craft. We have to find each other and support each other. Because I know, Lina, like, you're so rare. And I know you've probably been rejected a million times.
Yeah,
and you
used
have
to
to,
it.
yeah, like, you're bulldozing down doors, and it would suck if, like, you succeed, and then there's nobody standing behind you to walk that path with you.
Yeah, which I mean, that's something I deliberately think about is how do I keep that door open, and not only that, how do I bring up the next generation? Because like, I'm thinking a lot about just how generationally, my mother, my grandmother, and all these women, what they've had to do for me to be here, and how like, I do owe it to future generations to be that person for them. And yeah, like maybe I won't be like the biggest filmmaker of the generation, but maybe the person who I mentored will be. And I think that's more important than what I end up like doing, in terms of optics. Yeah.
One quick question, and then I want to open up to a Q&A, and if you guys have questions. If you're going to go back and meet your past self to see, show them like how far you've come in terms of what you've done as a MENA American, as a MENA artist, entertainer, what would you say to them?
I think if I were to speak to my younger self, I would say, just be twice as mean, honestly. Yes, it's interesting. It's like you wrestle with it as a person, like especially coming from our background or culture where you're trying to be polite, you're trying to be, very respectful and everything like that, and then you enter these rooms with these people who already have an opinion of you, they already dislike you because of where you come from and what you look like and what they think about you, and you're just like, well, you're gonna take the beating anyway. So be a bulldozer. I have been, I still am, that's why I'm where I'm at in my career, and I wish I could go back and be just twice as mean, because I think if a wall's a wall, if I'm gonna have to knock it down, be more efficient about it.
Be a mean Lina.
Mine's very close to yours. It's stop people pleasing and start putting yourself first. I think that's like very much in our culture to be considerate, but so much to the point where it starts to negatively impact you because you start putting everybody in front of you. So I think very close to what you're saying, be more assertive for yourself, be more aggressive too, you open those doors yourself if you need to.
Yeah, I feel like mine's also similar in the sense of like care less about what people think. I think I would transition sooner. I probably would lose my anti-psych transition. But yeah, I think it's stop caring what other people think. It's like we feel so othered a lot, especially funny enough, first mention of 9/11 on this panel. But especially like post 9/11, it became like especially like my dad's lighter, we went from being white to like halfway, we like really felt it, and I think that it became this, as an actor, you always want to please, you want to feel kind of like Lina was saying, it's like you want that, like you go in with that validation of like, you need to make me, you need to pass me, and it's like, we don't do that, and I think that's what I would tell myself, is just do it yourself and stop doing what other people think.
Again, sort of growing up in the context of a very white part of the country, I would tell myself, don't run away from your identity, run for it.
I think it's very similar stuff. I would say, don't seek validation from people who don't want to give it to you ever. And, you are talented, you are special, you're exactly who you think you are. And the rejections have nothing to do with your ability, it has more to do with them. And to just keep pushing. I think I really needed to hear that when I first moved out here because I had these ideas of what it would be. I grew up in Ohio, so also a very white area. And very and I grew up other, but it was also like weird because I kind of look white, but I'm like not, and then but like they know I'm not white, and then I'm like I'm confused, like what's going on here? And then when I moved out here, I felt like, oh, I'm gonna get a job at an agency, and I'm gonna do this, and that's the Hollywood story. And then I got out here, and it's like, oh, that's the story, but not for you. That's the story for the son of the showrunner's cousin. That's the reality of it. That's who gets those jobs. And so I think, just letting myself know it has nothing to do with you, and just to keep going and working on your craft.
Does anybody have any questions for us? Yes. Hi, what's your name?
Sammy.
Sammy?
Yeah. So I appreciate a lot of things that I heard. I'm half Palestinian, half Italian. Grew up in Indiana, so a lot of similarities. I spent the last 9 months kind of wrapped up in the organizing and activism work here in San Diego, and it's been really empowering from a public support perspective. Like the public has never been more supportive of Palestinians, but people in positions of political leadership and governmental leadership and organizational leadership have been more hostile, more overtly hostile than before October. I was wondering if you see that kind of similar split dynamic in the industry and how you've navigated it.
Yeah, yes.
First off, can we give you like a round of applause for this? Thank you for that.
But yeah, look, I'm an AD, I work behind the camera, I'm replaceable, very replaceable, there's thousands of us. And so there was a moment when with everything going on, I was like, fuck, I'm not gonna get jobs, sorry guys. I'm not gonna get jobs, am I? Because I'm talking about this, I'm very vocal about this. And thankfully, like, I've seen some people who will not hire me again, but I've also seen people who will hire me again. because it's not everyone has the same opinion. It's changed. And I think it's the activism. I mean, it's impossible to ignore what's happening right now. So yeah.
I think for me, I had to protect myself by not putting myself in those spaces. It's just overwhelming as it is as a Palestinian, as you know. So I just ignored all those spaces and just focused on my own stuff.
The answer to the question from my vantage is categorically yes. I have seen some things, and I'm really glad you asked this question, because immediately I sort of feel like Jerry Stiller on Festivus, where I'm like, I got a lot of problems with those people, and you're going to hear about them now. Specifically this week, just this week, and this came out like days ago, where a film shoot of, I believe, CSI was shooting in New York, and they were shooting a fake scene of a fake protest at a fake university, which is usually what TV shows do. They make a fake location so they for legal reasons. And they were besieged by actual protesters who got wind that they were shooting this fake scene of protesting. The scene, as written in the TV show, was they were protesting climate change. But they were clearly referencing all the Palestinian protesters. And the actual protesters were offended on I think on two levels. Firstly, that they were just sort of using their identity and their work and their efforts to sell a TV show. And second, and most importantly, they erased their reason they were protesting. They erased their identities and gave them another artificial identity. And I don't work on CSI. I never work on CSI. I have no affiliation with the show whatsoever. But I can tell you, after 20 years in the industry, that decision was definitely made deliberately. It was a choice to not discuss the Palestinian question and to have that removed so they wouldn't have to deal with it. Now contrast that for a minute with how we wrote shows during the height of like the Black Lives Matter movement and how Hollywood as an industry approached that. They literally wrote Black Lives Matter on Hollywood Boulevard. It was that prevalent. And it would be introduced in scripts, it would be introduced in stories. Now imagine that instead of doing that, they had a fake protest on a TV show, and they said, oh, you know what? Those protesters outside, they're not actually mad about the treatment of black folks in America. They love the police. Everything is fine. It's all great. They're actually protesting the Rwandan genocide and just completely erase the Black Lives Matter. That's sort of how it will feel, the difference in how those two things were approached. So I definitely think, in answer to your question, yes, there is a lot of sort of change in behaviors with people, but it can be so subtle that you might not notice it. Because if you turn on that show, that's the CSI episode, it might not occur to you that that protest was actually about something else that had been removed.
I was just going to say, yes, I met someone at a party, and he's Palestinian, and his sister was either director or writer with WME, one of the biggest agencies in the industry, and she got dropped, which is Palestinian.
Last question, anybody else? Go for it, let's do it.
So my question is, and this answer could be anywhere from like super fun and wholesome to like dry and serious. What kind of MENA stories do you guys personally want to see out there?
I want to see like a rom-com musical. That's what I'm dying to see. Because they don't expect that from us. Like MENA men are always represented as aggressive. Women are always represented as kind of, dumb and docile. I want to see a rom-com musical.
I want to see, because I'm writing this, I want to see a slasher movie and the final girl is Mina.
I want to see them try to make one of the way too many series, dramas that we have. One of those historical ones that usually come on during Ramadan. I think it's a Turkish one.
Yeah.
Anyway, we have some badass history, especially like both regionally and religiously. So any one of those could be Game of Thrones, but a lot more halal. So.
Yeah, I think it'd be like great to see something set in Iran pre-revolution, so people can see what it was like before that, or Sinbad. We have more than Aladdin, so.
I'd love to see a sitcom, just I guess centered on maybe a mixed MENA family, and we've done things like Rush Off the Boat, and the Church Book has had a lot of shows. They've definitely kind of gotten into where they're doing different cultural things and basing, turning the traditional family white sitcom into different cultures. But we've not even touched like anybody remotely related to the MENA So I'd love to see like a fun sitcom where we explore that in a way that's fun and open and humorous, and people can really enjoy it.
I think the great thing about being a writer is that I get to make it up myself. And like my short film actually has no explicit MENA in it, and that wasn't even deliberate. It just was what I wrote about. But I wrote a pilot that's like an alien invasion story, coming of age, MENA girl. I'm gonna start working on a movie that's like, you know, a Ladybird Rushmore, but MENA girl. So it's like, how do you just have these stories just be authentic and real? And like, yeah, thinking about like genre. Like I wrote a pilot when I was in this writing program about like a djinn. You know, it's like kind of, and like Jasmin was saying, like we have such great history. Like, if you guys know anything about like Joestar in Egypt, like there were these serial killer women and like, you know, and it's like, it would be cool to see a movie about them, right? Which I know in like the MENA area, we make that a comedy, like a stage comedy, but it'd be cool to see it as a drama, you know? So there's like plenty of stories that we can tell and we should tell, and we should do all of it because we shouldn't be limited to one kind of box. Yeah.
Nice. Guys, very quickly before we go, anything you want to plug in? We're actually going to be on a panel, Production Assistant 101, starting your Hollywood career at 3:30. Very marquee. Anything else you guys want to plug in?
If you want to go to a different panel at 3:30. I'm moderating a trans-masculine representation in our movement that's sponsored by GLAD. So we will be in the convention center. If you want to run with any of us to our next panels.
Just real quick, guys, if you would like to come to the screenings that I'm playing in LA, get my Instagram. There's an Eventbrite that's free. Just come out.
We'll be outside. You guys can
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming to our panel. Thank you, Sreejith, for the mom, for taking a picture, recording video. Have a great rest of your time here at Khatib.